thank you for joining us. Our session today is going to focus on the changes coming down from the National Main Street Center and how that's going to impact you on a local level. One of the first things we're going to focus on is the 4-point refresh. Several of you have heard us talking about this throughout the years, and that it's been something that's been coming. Over about the past 18 months, the National Main Street Center has been working very closely with the team that they selected on a national level to meet with state coordinators as well as local managers to address the idea of the 4 points, see what's working, see what might need to be changed, and how we can better make that transition for our communities. So one of the things that they've focused on during this 4-point refresh is what we've been saying all along, that as Main Street directors, you are not party planners, you are economic developers. But saying that and actually making it a reality are different things. Also with this 4-point refresh, the National Main Street Center wants to focus on broad community engagement. We've seen this siloing effect with the current 4 points and the way they're structured. I've seen it when I was a manager in my communities. I've seen it with you guys when I've gone to help facilitate work planning sessions. And I know that's a challenge. We tend to think of what is something that we need to do in design? What is something that we need to do in economic development? What is something that we need to do in organization and promotions, instead of thinking what is the best thing for the downtown? And so by changing how we're looking at the 4 points and refreshing it, it's going to give you guys more flexibility in how you organize yourself. It's also going to focus more on the outcome and the impact of what you're doing, and less on how we're doing it. So more outcome focused. So what you'll see is that from now on, we will not be teaching the traditional Main Street 4 points. The actual Main Street 4 points will still be, in effect, the broad-based foundation for what we're talking about. But they're bringing in something called community transformation strategies. And with this, we're focusing on measuring the inputs as far as community engagement and market understanding. And then these community transformation strategies are really going to be a much more broad-based approach to downtown development. Like we said, we're not focusing on what's something we need to do in each of these areas. We're just focusing on what's the best overall project for our downtown. Does that mean we want to be an arts district? Does that mean we need to focus on senior citizens? Does that mean we need to focus on millennials, or creating a good environment for families? What is the big picture here? With that in mind, we have these community transformation strategies that come in, and that the reality is that when we look at our downtown in this broad-based approach, we realize that economic development comes into play, that design comes into play, organization and promotions, that when we're doing things that benefit the downtown and the community as a whole, that all these 4 items actually really do contribute, and that there isn't this siloed approach with it. So what I want to show you here is just a visual example of what I'm talking about. Here we see design, organization, promotion, and economic vitality. It's been called economic restructuring over the years. We refer to it in Georgia as economic development. I will tell you that from this point on, the National Main Street Center will be referring to it as economic vitality. It's a little bit more of a comprehensive approach to economic development. It's not just talking about what's the actual impact that's happening in our local economies, but how does that impact contribute to the overall feel of our downtown district. So here we have these 4 points. So like I said, we're going to be focusing on these community transformation strategies. But before we address these community transformation strategies, we have to talk about where's our community heading and understanding the market that we're working with. And a lot of that is going to be a little bit different than what you guys are used to. We've been talking about having these town hall meetings, these listening sessions. Carl Vinson, Institute of Local Government, has been great about going in and helping communities create work plans. And a big part of what they do is listening. So they want to have focus groups, surveys. It's all about listening to what is happening in your community and what the needs are, because it's not enough to say, you know, we think this is where our downtown is heading, this is where we think we need to go. We actually have to understand what the market holds for us. So what are our local demographics? What is our average or median household income? You know, what is the current infrastructure and what can we support? And so that's where the community vision and the market understanding comes into place before we even start talking about community transformation strategies. Once we have a good understanding of that, that's where the community transformation strategies come in, and we're looking at the big picture. What is going to be, you know, the best thing for our downtown overall, realizing, as you can see here, that the 4 points really do intersect these broad-based visions that we have. And then after we have identified these community strategies, focusing on the quantitative and qualitative outcomes of that. So before, we've been really focused on the structure of the organization, making sure that we have our committees, making sure that we're doing our meetings, making sure that we have that really good foundation set up. It's not that the foundation isn't important, but we're realizing that everybody's a little bit different and every community is a little bit different. And how we structure stuff, we need more flexibility. We need to make it easier on you guys, not harder on you guys. And so then we want to focus on the outcomes. So what is the actual impact of what we're doing? I've been frustrated. I know that you guys have been frustrated. There's nothing worse than when you're a manager and you're working so hard and you're creating these work plans, and then at the end of the day, or even the end of the year, you're going back to the drawing board and seeing this great big list of things you want to do and feeling like you haven't been able to accomplish it. We're trying to take that burden away. And so focusing on 1-2 really good projects that work for your community. And the traditional committees are going away. We're not going to be teaching that anymore in our Main Street 101 sessions. I think 35 years ago, when the program started, that made sense. But with technology the way it is today, with the ability for us to connect in an instant, I just don't think it's necessary. And so what we're saying is that when you're looking at these community transformation strategies and identifying some projects and programs that would align with them, you can then create these task force. So it allows you more flexibility to bring people in and to let them roll off as needed. There's no longer this, we have to meet every other week or once a month for 30 minutes to discuss the same topics over and over and over. I think that's a really easy way to get people to be burned out. It's also really intimidating for new people that want to join, getting that younger audience involved. You know, that kind of commitment scares them, but knowing that they can get involved and that there's not this forever commitment with it, they can roll on and roll off depending on what the project is, and that flexibility, I think that can be very interesting to the younger crowd, and also allows them to see that what they're working on can be very outcome focused, project related. Here's another example, a visual example of what we're talking about. So we've got these transformation strategies, and what we want to see is the implementation of these 4 points within these transformation strategies. Like we said, focusing on these outcomes, but it's still going to be work plan based. Honestly, this is kind of the same stuff. We're just looking at it in a new way. We still want to make sure that we're doing activities. We want to make sure that we're identifying who's responsible for what. We want to make sure that we have a budget and proper funding, that we have a timeline for completion, that we have metrics for measuring our success. This is all standard stuff that should be in any work plan. But, you know, we're just looking at it in a different way. So with these transformation strategies, we want to focus on a quick start and being able to engage the public and have visible outcomes. I always tell our new managers, you know, it's hard because what you do behind the scenes every single day, most people don't see. They don't understand how much work goes into the events and the projects and programs that you have. And so we have to make sure that every now and then we're doing stuff that's visible, that when we're on the square in the downtown, we can point to something and say, hey, we helped be a part of that change. We helped be a part of that process. So these transformation strategies will help us bring about substantive transformation. It'll be reflective of that community vision. We'll have a broad-based understanding of the district's economic performance and opportunities. And that's just a really fancy way of saying that we're prepared for what we actually want to do. We're being realistic about what our downtown can accomplish. We're being realistic about what the economy can be supportive of in our area. And we're being realistic as far as our approach to different businesses that we're trying to incentivize to bring in and different development that we're trying to encourage. We still want to focus on these 4 points, but from now on, we'll just be calling it the Main Street approach. Also, we want to make sure that everything that we're doing is measurable. We had someone in our past 101 this last week ask us about how do we measure something? How do we measure, whether a project or a program was successful or an event even? And that was a really great question because honestly, it changes a little bit for each project, program, or event. But one of the biggest things is identifying those goals that you want to achieve right out the gate. What will success look like to you? Maybe that is a certain amount of participation from the community. Maybe that's a certain amount of involvement from the businesses. Maybe that's a dollar amount if you're trying to raise funds, or maybe it's a certain number of businesses that you're trying to get to be opened. The thing is that what you're measuring in each project, program, or event is going to be different, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't still try to set these measurable objectives so that we can evaluate our success. And with these community transformation strategies, this is not going to be something that's necessarily done in 6 months. It's going to be a layered effect, and it's going to be something that you're going to have to reevaluate and make sure that what you're setting your mind on achieving is actually achievable and that it makes sense for your community, not just this year, but 2 years and 5 years down the road. So one of the cool things about all these changes that are coming down is that the National Main Street Center has selected 7 communities to work with across the country on a beta launch of all this. And we are really happy to announce that Milledgeville, our very own Milledgeville, has been selected to participate in this beta launch. This is really great for us as a state because we're going to get to be able to see, hands-on, firsthand experience how this is working in our communities. And, they will be rolling out more things over the next year to 18 months. And the nice thing is because one of our cities is actually a part of this process, we're going to get to be, the first to know what is happening and to see how these changes are working. And one of the other cool things is that out of these 7 programs that have been selected out of 9 communities across the country, only 2 of them are existing programs. So they're seeing how this new Main Street approach with these community transformation strategies, moving away from the committee structure, how it's going to work in 5 of these communities that don't have programs that are setting up programs, and then how it's working in 2 of these existing communities that already have programs. And so Milledgeville is one of those 2 cities that actually already currently has a program and is one of only 7 in the country that is working on this. So, congrats to Milledgeville. We're so excited that they're a part of this process, and we're really excited that we'll get to help kind of keep you guys in the loop as things develop throughout the year. So the biggest question I'm sure you guys have is, what does this mean for us? Like I said, this means that we will be teaching community transformation strategies as well as the traditional 4 points in Main Street 101. We will be focusing on how to encourage new board members as well as new Main Street managers to be able to rally the troops and focus on creating these community transformation strategies. But we're trying to move away from that siloed effect of the 4-point approach. We're no longer going to have an emphasis on the traditional committee structure. This is by no means saying that tomorrow you have to call all your committees and say, hey, you don't exist anymore. That's, that is not the intention at all. If you have a good committee that's working and it makes sense, then you can continue using them just as the way you have always done. But if you are one of those communities that struggled to get volunteers to be involved, that has struggled to get participation, that is yearning to have a fresh way of looking at stuff, then you no longer have to feel that you are missing the mark or not doing something right by not having those traditional committees. We are giving you a carte blanche, pass go, collect $200, free pass, do what you need to do to make this program work in your community. We're trying to free you up, give you more flexibility, and give you more freedom so that way you guys can achieve what you need to achieve. One of the biggest things that is coming out of all this that will be a new requirement for our programs is that currently all new Main Street directors are required to participate in Main Street 101 within their first year on the job. That will stay the same. The biggest change that will come down to our programs is that all new board members will be required to participate in 101 as well. I will say that we did not make this decision easy or lightly. I understand the impact that that makes on the communities, but the reality is that we are teaching completely new stuff than what has been taught before. And if I want to make sure that you are being supported as a Main Street director the way you need to be supported, that means not just educating you, that means educating everyone around you. That means educating your city elected officials, your city staff that works with you, as well as the board members who are supporting you. If they don't understand this new approach and if they don't understand the new ways that we're encouraging people to interact and work with each other, then you're fighting an uphill battle before you've ever got started. And I'm trying to make your jobs easier, not harder. So we will be requiring all new board members to go to Main Street 101 within their first year on that position. We'll be offering 4 separate 101s across the state next year. The price for that will be $95 and will include all your materials and everything that goes with it, as well as their certificate that they'll get upon graduation. I will say that while we are only requiring new board members to participate in 101, if you have existing board members that haven't ever been to a 101, if you have board members who may not understand the direction that the program's moving in, would like a refresher, or even just sending your board chair, I don't think that's ever a bad idea. And I would encourage you to encourage your board members to listen to this if they haven't already signed up today to participate in this webinar, and to consider coming to one of our trainings across the state. Also, with all that being said, like I said, what does this mean for you guys? It means there's going to be more focus on the big picture and measurable results, and more flexibility for how you guys are structuring your program locally. Those measurable results we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but what I'm referring to here is being able to see that actual impact in your community, whether it's private and public investment, whether it's new jobs, new businesses opening, events, volunteer engagement, different things like that. So next we're going to talk about branding. As you know, you can see down in the right-hand corner, there's a new little logo. It's called Main Street America. I've been talking to you guys about this over the past couple of months, but warning you that a new brand was going to be coming out, and this is the new brand that has been released to us. So the reason for the new brand was to increase the awareness of the Main Street program nationally, to deliver a consistent message, inspire confidence, and give an updated look. I will say that the challenge with just being called a Main Street community was that the National Center was never really able to trademark the word Main Street alone, because it is such a widely used turn of phrase. And so that's where the term Main Street America has come from. And this is something now that they have legally trademarked and will be able to enforce as far as the brand goes. Things to keep in mind. So Main Street America is actually a program of the National Main Street Center. When I was at my state coordinators meeting in DC, a lot of coordinators had a challenge kind of wrapping their mind around this. For me, I think it makes a lot of sense. And it's easy for me to understand because it's kind of how we're structured on the state level. So we have the Georgia Main Street program, which is actually a program of the Department of Community Affairs. So the National Main Street Center will still be calling themselves the National Main Street Center. They're a subsidiary of the National Trust. That will not change. They will just be referring to their National Main Street Network as Main Street America. It really is that simple. So that's not super complicated. Just like our office has the program, which is the Georgia Main Street program, we're still part of the Department of Community Affairs. So What does this mean for you guys? It means a new look and building off the name Main Street, and it's been successful, for 35 years, so we don't want to go crazy with it, but, there's some changes coming down with that, and I think it'll be good. The coordinating programs as well as the communities will all make up this Main Street America network, so, we'll be a part of that as well. This is the new logo. You'll see that they're drawing in that arching lamp. I think in Georgia we tend to see that kind of acorn top on our lampposts, but across the country, most downtowns tend to see that kind of overarching, I don't know what you want to call them, almost like a cane lamp. And so that's playing off the history and heritage of downtowns. The little kind of flower thing coming off the side represents the 4 areas of concentration. So we've got the economic vitality, we've got design, we've got promotions, and we've got organization. And together they make up the logo. So what you'll see is the logo used in several different ways. We've got there will be several new tiers, which I'll actually get to in just a minute. But you can see how it works across the board with the affiliate program, the accredited programs, the coordinating programs, which is what our office is for our state, and then award winner, and that would be for those GAMSA communities. Here is the logo with their new slogan, nationally recognized, locally powered. What you'll see here is an example of what potential banners could look like, as well as use of the logo on your website. So what does this mean for us? I know the biggest question that I've got is, do we have to change our name? No, you do not have to change your name. All of our programs will be able to keep using Main Street the way that they've been doing. If you are Griffin Main Street, you can still call yourself Griffin Main Street. If you are Blackshear Main Street program, you can still call yourself Blackshear Main Street program. You do not have to call yourself Main Street America. That is just an accreditation level that you'll be receiving. We are still going to call ourselves the Georgia Main Street program. We're not going to call ourselves Georgia Main Street America or anything like that. So we're going to be keeping our name. I expect you guys to keep your name. You do not have to do anything big, changing, sweeping, in regards to that. As part of our annual MOUs that we sign with each community, you will be allowed to use this logo and the Georgia Main Street logo on your website and any printed materials that you do. So basically the way it works is that we license the name from the National Main Street Center as the state coordinating program. And then when we have MOUs with all of our communities, that is you being able to license the name and use it from us. So we have to have agreements with all our communities in order for you to be able to use that logo. But the nice thing is everybody will have access to it. There's a branding document that the National Center has provided, and it will tell you how you can use the logo and what way you can use the logo, and there's going to be a lot of flexibility with that. And so I think everybody is excited. I think it's, it's nice that they're doing something that can actually be trademarked and enforced from now on, and they're really trying to build up the brand and the identity of the program. And I think that this definitely speaks to that. So one thing that I was showing you before, these couple of tiers right here, that's going to be the next thing we talk about. So one of the biggest changes that I think that they're doing is a new tiered approach with the programs. So just to basically give you a brief recap, in the past they've had 2 different tiers for communities that want to be involved with the National Main Street Center. The first one was designated and the second one was affiliate. My biggest challenge when I first came to this office was, what's the difference? They both sound exactly the same. If I went to one of my great communities and said, hey, you're designated, or hey, you're affiliated, everybody would be, sorry, it was designated and accredited. If I told somebody that they were one or the other, there was not a lot of understanding of what the difference was. The language was so similar that you'd be excited no matter what. So what they're doing is they're changing the language and how it works. Ultimately, they're going to have 3 tiers. But for right now, in 2016, they're just going to have 2 tiers. They're going to have the affiliate tier and the accredited tier. And so after that, in 2017, they're going to launch their third tier, which is going to be called the Premier Tier. This is going to be the highest level of achievement that a program can earn, and will also be very outcome oriented and focused on the economic impact. So this is the tier structure as it will be. The affiliate will be the lowest level, accredited will be the mid-level, with Premier being the highest level. So for the affiliate programs, the Main Street America affiliates are programs or organizations that have demonstrated a commitment to achieving meaningful economic, social, physical, and organizational improvements in their downtown. These are those people that want to be at the accredited or premier level but may not quite be there yet. They are required to sign a commitment letter as an organization, and they would have to renew this designation annually, just like the accredited communities would. Accredited, this is what we think of as our traditional classic Main Street programs. That's where they would fall in, this accredited tier. They have to meet those existing 10 criteria for accreditation every single year. They're selected by us and then recommended to the National Main Street Center, and you would have to renew that annually. So this is the traditional 10 criteria that has been set out by the National Main Street Center. You guys are probably familiar with this, have seen this. These are those really broad-based 10 standards for accreditation. Reports key statistics, has paid professional management, has an active board of directors, different things like that. These are going to be slightly changed. Some of those things that are going to be recommended to be changed for that, some of those programmatic requirements, they want to make sure that you have broad-based community support. You still have to have vision and mission statements, but they want to make sure that it's relevant to the community conditions and the program's organizational stage. That's kind of what we've been talking about. This shouldn't be, the first time you guys are hearing this. We mentioned, usually during our trainings that you need to revisit your mission and vision statements every year and make sure that it's relevant to what you're doing now. Your program is not the same program that it was 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and so I don't expect your vision and mission statement to stay the same either. We want to make sure that you have a comprehensive work plan that ties directly to your vision and mission statement and prioritizes activities based on those transformation strategies. The reason why your vision and mission statement are so important is because this is really going to help determine what you should be doing as a program and what you shouldn't be doing as a program. When you're in that position where someone comes to you and says, hey, I got this great idea, y'all need to do this, or hey, I want to add something else to your plate, having a solid vision and mission statement will help you as a board and as a program evaluate on whether that's something you need to take into consideration to make sure that it aligns with what the purpose is of the organization. Other things that we want to see that the programs are actively demonstrating a commitment to reusing older and historic buildings within the districts. As far as governance, we want to make sure that we have an active board of directors. Remember, we want an active board, a working board, not just a figurehead board. One of the things that the national program is asking for is that the board conducts an annual review with the director. We're going to be a little bit more flexible with that. I just want to make sure that the director is receiving an annual review every year. But we're flexible. We're going to be flexible in the state of Georgia as far as who actually gives that review. I know that a lot of our programs are city employees. They're not direct appointments from the Downtown Development Authority or the Main Street Board. So I'm fine with city staff providing an annual review for the director. We're going to be pretty flexible about that, but we just want to make sure that everybody is receiving an annual review, and that's as much for your protection as anybody's. Governance, we want to make sure that there's an adequate operating budget. You have to have paid professional staff. We've said this before, we'll say it again. If you do not have paid professional staff and are not in the process of hiring someone, as of 2016, January 2016, you will automatically be moved to the affiliate tier. You will not be able to be accredited. So that is a kind of no-go, thing. If you don't have a board of directors, if you're not a member of the National Main Street Center, or if you don't have paid professional staff, all three of those things will kick you down to that affiliate tier, and it's not optional. Impact. We want to make sure that you're tracking and reporting key statistics. That is something that the National Main Street Center asks us for every year. So I know you think, oh, Jessica bugs me all the time about these monthly reports, and I, just don't want to hear it anymore. Well, the reality is, folks, that the National Center is bugging us for all this information. So we have to constantly be providing them with your economic impact numbers, and we are accountable for that, just as you are accountable to me for it. So that's why it's important to make sure that we're getting that information, that we're getting it timely, so that way we can accurately show the National Main Street Center the impact of our communities. And then, of course, making sure we have an MOU with you guys and that you guys are all in good standing with the National Main Street Center. So what does this mean for us? These are our current levels of designation here in the state of Georgia. One of the things is that the R-Town level, that's going away. I think it was a good idea when we first started it. I don't think it ever really fully worked out the way we intended, and so that program is just evolving into something else. The startup program is going to still be a program, but it won't be part of our tiered system. So we will have 3 tiers: the Classic Main Street programs, the GEMS programs, which stands for Georgia's Exceptional Main Streets, and the Downtown Affiliate. How that works is that the Classic Main Street programs will meet that accredited tier level that the National Main Street Center has in place. The GEMS programs will meet that premier tier level that the National Main Street Center has in place, and the Downtown Affiliate programs will meet that affiliate requirement. And the funny thing about the startup program is that it will actually straddle 2 different tiers depending on what point in the process they're at. So anybody that is a community that applies for the startup program and comes in as a new city will be a part of the Downtown Affiliate tier right there. They'll be accredited on the affiliate level with the National Center their first year, and then after their first year through the process of becoming a startup program, that second year they will move to this accredited level. So the startup program actually kind of straddles 2 different tiers here. One of the other things that I will say with the GEMS level that I've heard from a lot of people is that everybody wants to be able to have access to this. And since the premier level with the National Center is focused on outputs and measurable results, we actually think we have a great way of being able to measure that impact and figure out who would be able to be applicable for this process, for this level, this designation level. So what we will do as of 2017, when they actually allow us to designate communities as this, this year we're going through our new assessment process where everything is points weighted. Correct? So you have to meet a certain threshold of points in order to be accredited. The same thing will be said for the premier level or the GEMS level, that you have to meet a certain threshold of points in order to be called a GEMS community and to be able to receive that National Main Street Center premier designation. So it will be a certain points threshold with the annual assessment, as well as making sure that we can see measurable results on your monthly reports. So that's going to put a lot more emphasis in what you're doing in those monthly reports to make sure that you're really painting the whole picture for us, because it's not enough to be working the approach. We actually have to see the impact of the approach in your communities. And like I said, that means in jobs being created, new businesses opening, public-private investment, those sort of things. We need to be able to see that measurable impact in your communities. Okay, so what does this mean for us? The great thing is that any city that is wishing to have a designation with the National Center will be able to go through us for that. So all those communities that have been in the R-Town level or even the affiliate level, any of those communities that are wishing to get into the program until we start the startup program, they actually will have access to be that affiliate level on the national National Main Street Center through us. And we'll be working with those communities who want to be a part of the startup process to get them to that affiliate level with the National Center, which I think is great. That means no more having to wait till the time is right. We can kind of get you plugged in and started working on the process right away. Like I said before, the GEMS program will evolve, and I think that's really exciting for those communities who are working hard, who want to be able to show success. And I like that there's this premier level on the national side, because the thing is, it gives you something to work towards. It gives you another designation. It's not just saying, hey, I'm part of, these other 2,000 cities across the country that are doing this. That premier level, just like our GEMS level is in the state, it's saying that this is the best of the best. This is the cream of the crop, and we've really gone above and beyond what we've done before. And like I said, that monthly reporting will really become a determining factor for that premier level designation. Okay, the last section we're going to talk about is the Main Street Institute. So some of you may be familiar with the fact that there was a National Main Street certification that you could receive years ago. You had to go to some workshops and pay some fees. The National Center actually took it away several years ago just due to staffing and financial constraints, but they are bringing it back. It will be different than what it was in the past, but same kind of accreditation. So in this year, in January of 2016, the National Main Street Center is going to launch the Main Street America Institute. And so this is basically professional development, continuing education training. It's here to support downtown and commercial district leader development and growth, offer lifelong learning opportunities, provide accessible, affordable training opportunities, both online and on-site, and help you evaluate the commercial district revitalization through these standards that they've created. So there's two different tracks that are available. There's the Leadership Development Certification Program, and then there's the Community Transformation Certificate Program. I will say, once you've completed both of these programs, that is what equals your National Main Street Director certification. So the great thing is that with both of these types of certifications, there is an online component as well as an in-person workshop. And one of the things that I like is that if you decided to do the leadership development side first, if you're going to go to the National Main Street Conference in Milwaukee next year, their actual 2-day workshop is in conjunction with that. So the nice thing is you're not having extra travel or training required as part of that. You can kind of knock it all out at one point. This is the schedule at a glance. So these are the classes that are going to be offered. As you can see, you still have them broken down into these areas of the 4 points. In January, they're going to focus on economic vitality with advanced fundamentals of economic vitality. And then you'll see it goes from there with that on-site leadership development workshop taking place in May in conjunction with the conference, and then an on-site workshop for community transformations in October, and that'll actually be in Chicago, where the National Main Street Center is based. So these are some of the requirements. Like I said, with the Leadership Development Certificate, there are 2 online courses that are needed for that, as well as 1 workshop. That workshop would be in conjunction with the conference. And for the Community Transformation Certificate, there's 8 online courses that you would take, as well as the 1 Community Transformation Workshop that would take place next fall in Chicago. If you do both of these, this is where you get your Main Street America Revitalization Professional Certificate. There's also a more abbreviated version of it if you just want to be a certified Main Street manager, and that includes 5 online courses and then 1 workshop in each of these areas, the community transformation and the leadership development. So you can see there's a lot of different options here, a lot of flexibility. One of the things that they like is that this is open to anybody. Classes are filled on a first-come, first-served basis. And one of the things that they're emphasizing is that this is not for newbies, not for the people who have been 6 months on the job. They're really recommending that you've been on the job for 3 years or more, just so that you really have the good fundamental understanding of how the program works and how it interacts with your community. There is a test that you have to pass at the end of each online and on-site course. And then in order to receive your overall Main Street America Revitalization Professional Certificate, there is a final exam for that. So the nice thing is with this web platform that they're doing, everything is really self-contained. There's an online catalog, registration will be, online, payment processing online, course materials will all be distributed to you online. The online courses themselves is really nice. They will actually be streamed online, but you can actually watch them on demand after 48 hours after they've been released. So, these classes will be about an hour and a half each. And so the nice thing is if one of the classes is happening when you can't watch it, you can always come back later and watch it on your own schedule, just like we do with our webinars. So with the online courses, I'm going to tell you to go through the whole process to get that big overall certificate. It's $4,000. It is not something, to scoff at. It is a long commitment. They see that this should take about, honestly, you could knock it out in a year, but it's going to be pretty intensive, that this should take you about 2 years to complete between the different workshops and stuff like that. But the online courses are $275 a piece, and then you'll see the price for the two different workshops. And with those workshops, obviously that's just registration. That's not going to be food, travel, hotel, that sort of thing. So realistically, your expenses there are going to be a little bit more. But one of the things that I like is that, so when you see each of these different classes that are offered here, right? So each of these online courses, so like for this online course right here, the Advanced Fundamentals of Economic Vitality, this is actually 3 online sessions. And so that means there will be 3 1.5-hour classes in order for you to get this box checked off that you participated and have this course completed. So you would watch 3 online sessions, and then there would be a test at the end. And so the thing is, it's time consuming, but who can say that they've taken a class and knocked it out within less than a day, basically, when you add up all the time back to back to back. So that's really nice. And one of the other good things is, like I said, you can pay for this as you go. You can sign up if you know you want to complete all of it and just pay for it up front. That is an option that the National Center is offering. But if you want to piecemeal this and take a class here and there, depending on what your budget can afford, that's definitely optional. So with the Main Street America Institute, one of the great things is that it is flexible. You can start at any time. You don't have to wait for January or semester. You can, literally start any month of the year. The nice thing is that it is online. You can do it from your house. It will be relevant to the new changes that are coming out and the trends that they're focusing on with this new beta launch of the Main Street approach. It will be comprehensive as far as the subject matter. So registration actually just was made available, and we will include a link for that in our weekly email. But if you want more information, this is a great way to find it out. You can always go to their website, preservationnation.org, to find out information in general about anything that the National Main Street Center is offering. So what does this mean for us? I would highly encourage you to take advantage of some of these training opportunities that are offered from the National Main Street Center. I will say that it is a different program now than when I was a manager. When I was a manager, we kind of wrote a check to the National Main Street Center because that's how we kept our accreditation. But honestly, I didn't know any of the people there. I didn't know what they did as an organization, and we didn't really get anything from them either. It is a different ballgame right now. Every single person who comes to a Main Street 101 that we do gets a copy of all the resource materials that the National Main Street provides, and we do it all digitally. So they get copies of the organization handbooks and the promotions and marketing handbooks, as well as this really big comprehensive handbook for how a Main Street program works and operates. And that's a great incentive to be a part of the National Main Street Center. That's something that we offer our people, and that's something that they do. To be able to have those publications digitally is great. The other thing that they do is webinars. They do a lot of online education, and I think that's something new that they've done maybe the past 6 months, maybe. But they cover a wide variety of topics. And this is definitely something that is, new for them to be able to offer these courses and this training. And I just think it's something different than what we're doing here on the state level. And they're going to give you a much broader perspective, a national perspective to the Main Street approach. And I think, just like we say, it's great to be able to learn from what your neighbors are doing. It's also great to be able to learn from what other people around the country are doing, because we're all in the same field, but everybody takes a different approach to it. So with the Main Street Institute, participation is not required. We're not forcing you to do it. We're not forcing you to have to participate in it. But I will say that anybody that does decide to go through and take any of the classes, whether it's just one class or whether it's a series of classes or any of the workshops, they will be able to get bonus points available on their annual assessments from here on out. And we're still trying to figure out what those bonus points look like, and it'll probably depend depending on whether you're doing a workshop or an online class. But I do believe in rewarding good behavior, and if you are taking the time, energy, and putting the money into it, then I think you should definitely get credit for that. So that's something to look forward to. So this is the end of all the crazy updates that we have coming down. So now is the time to ask the questions.